StrayAllDay.com.
Now, you are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up. You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is the misdirection of the black liberal. Yeah, we're going to talk about this. Let's talk about the misdirection of the black liberal. What exactly do I even mean by even saying this? Well, a few episodes back, when I talked about my general disagreement with the liberal view in the United States of America, I talked about it. And today I'm going to go deeper into what my thoughts are here. Actually, I didn't even do that episode yet. So that episode is coming up. I think I took the notes of one before I did the other. So I'm looking right here just to make sure I got these in order. Yeah, I think I didn't talk about that one yet. I think that one is coming up tomorrow. So that is one that is coming. This one, I want to talk about the misdirection. So I'll do this one first, and then I'll get to that one later. But most of what I'm going to share here is my personal opinion that is based on my observations of what I see happening with the black liberal in the United States of America. You can tell by the title. You can get a feel for my angle on this. This is not necessarily about a political party or a politician, but it can be, because there's a bunch of black liberals who tend to lean left politically. This is not really a political discussion. You can call it more of a social discussion, but if you want to call it a political discussion, so what? Call it what you want to call it. All right, it's my show, and let's get into it. The topic is the misdirection of the black liberal. Point number one. What's happening today in politics, with politics, and what happens in politics tends to be either a reflection of or a driver of what happens in everyday life socially. You can decide which one it is. Probably a combination of both. But what's happening with politics here today is the same thing as what happened with music. And when I say music, I'm talking specifically what happened with rap music. Now, let me explain for those of you who don't even listen to rap music. What happened is there was a genre, we're talking rap music, that was uplifting, professionally done, and respectful in its message and performance. And what happened is, somehow, some way, and you can tell me what the somehow, some way was. You can draw your own conclusions. Many of you already have some. Is that it got ghettoized. They made it more ghetto, because making it more ghetto is allegedly what black people want and what black people will relate to. Let me explain to you how this happened in rap music. Those of you who are old enough to remember, I'm not even that old to remember, but I remember the tail end of it, is that rap music in the 70s and the 80s was more friendly. It was friendly. It was fun. It was a party. It was a celebration. It was something that anyone could partake in. And for the most part, even if people didn't listen to it, you could appreciate it for what it was, even if it wasn't your flavor. It's kind of like you may not like certain types of food, but you can appreciate that other people like those foods. You may not like sushi, but you understand why other people may like sushi. And rap music was kind of like that. But it was, again, when I say professionally done, I don't mean that there was a studio and a soundboard and a mixer. When I say professionally done, meaning it was done in a way that it was safe for work. You could listen to it in your office and people could hear you listening to it. And even if it's not their type of music, it wasn't anything offensive about it to where you didn't want to listen to it if your grandma was in the room. That's what rap music used to be. And a lot of people don't even know that, but that's what it was in the 70s and into the majority of the 80s. What happened in the late 80s going into the early 90s is that somehow, some way, someone, and again, you can tell me who you think the someone is not the point here today, someone got the idea that, hey, what if we ghettofied this and we got people from the black community to start rapping, still rapping, but let's get them to rap about different subject matters. Let's get them to start calling their females bitches and hoes. Let's get them to start referring to each other as the N-word. Let's get them to use as much profanity as possible in their songs and make it sound good. Let's get them to start talking about more raunchy and not safe for work topics, like talking about sex in very, very crass terms and very explicit terms. Let's get them to do all of those things, and let's put that out, and let's see if people like that just as much, if not more, than the kind of music that already is out there. And the music that was out there before would be music like, for example, my father is a music guy. He's a musician. He worked full time in doing what was basically manual labor, but he's also a musician. He would do his music stuff at night. So he basically kind of had two jobs for damn near 40 years. And my father's a musician, and he wasn't a rapper. He did like keyboards and piano and knows how to play the bass and things like that. But he listened to a lot of rap music back then. In the 80s, he would listen to rap music, and this was people like Public Enemy. So Public Enemy had a guy named Flavor Flav, who all of you are familiar with that guy. He was not the main guy in Public Enemy. The main rapper in Public Enemy was a guy named Chuck D. And Chuck D had a very famous rap voice. He was a very good rapper. And for the most part, most of the music I remember from Chuck D, he didn't even use profanity in his music, even though he had a very strong message. And a lot of the music that rappers were putting out back in the late 80s was what many people now would categorize as conscious rap music. What is conscious rap music? That is music where the rapper is actually trying to educate and illuminate the minds of the audience, not just entertain you. A lot of rap back then was very conscious rap. So these are rappers, they were rapping about things like they were basically pushing back against slavery. They were pushing back against racism. They were telling black people, hey, here's who you actually are. Here's where we're actually from. Here's what our heritage is about. Here are the things you should believe about yourself as a black person. Here's how we build up and strengthen the black community within ourselves. Here's how we hold each other accountable. There was a very famous posse song, and a posse song, nobody calls it that now. Nowadays you call it a collaboration, but back then it was called a posse song, posse cut, also known as a song, which is basically a whole bunch of rappers together on one song. And there was a very famous song back in the day called Self-Destruction. And none of you heard the song, you can look it up on YouTube. It's called Self-Destruction. And Self-Destruction was a song that featured all the most famous black rappers of the late 80s, early 90s. I don't remember exactly when the song came out, and it's not important to this, but it was late 80s, early 90s. Let me find out, actually. Let me ask ChatGPT. They'll tell me. When did the song Self-Destruction, the rap song, come out, and who was on it? I'm not going to tell you everybody who was on the songs. There was too many people on the song, but they can tell me when the song actually came out. So this song is a notable hip hop track. It came out on January 15th, 1989. And the group of all these rappers was noted as the Stop the Violence movement. So that right there tells you what kind of music was coming out back then. And this song was the biggest song in rap when it came out by a movement called the Stop the Violence movement. The song was all about, and it was called Self-Destruction because the rappers were all rapping about, and it wasn't that many rappers. Let me tell you who was on it. Boogie Down Productions, which is KRS-One, D-Nice, Miss Melody. Stetisonic, which featured Daddy-O, MC Delight, Wise, and Fruquan. Cool Mo D, MC Light, Dougie Fresh, Just Ice, Heavy D, and Public Enemy, who I already mentioned. The song was aimed to address and raise awareness about the pressing issue of violence within the black community. The song was about black on black violence. And it was called Self-Destruction. And the whole thing was, we are headed for self-destruction as a community because the things that we are doing in our communities are simply not right, and we need to stop this. That's what the song was about. And the reason why there was so much violence in the 80s in the black community is because of the drug epidemic in the community, which again, you can tell me, you can draw your own conclusions as to why we had a drug epidemic. There's a whole lot of arguments about that. Not the topic here today, but that was the crack era, all of the 1980s in black communities in the United States of America. Therefore, there was a lot of violence. There was a lot of killing. There was a lot of people being incarcerated. And the rappers were rapping about, hey, we need to stop this. We can't keep doing this. This is hurting our communities. These were the most popular rappers. These weren't some down in the basement doing small show rappers. These were the biggest guys. That's what they were rapping about. What happened in the late 80s going into the early 90s is all of a sudden we started to get more music by rappers who basically did the opposite. Instead of saying, wow, this is destroying our community, they started rapping about it and glorifying this stuff. So you had a group called NWA, which stood for N-Words with Attitude. And this was led by a guy named Dr. Dre. All of you familiar with Dr. Dre? He's still out today. Another guy named Ice Cube. He's still around today. There was a rapper named Eazy-E who was basically the biggest rapper in the group at the time. He passed away. He died of AIDS in the mid-90s. Another thing that we're not going to get into right now. But these guys were talking about the same things the conscious rappers were talking about, but they were talking about it in a way as if to make it sound cool. Oh, yes, I do sell drugs. Yes, I will shoot you. Yes, I will beat you up. Yes, that girl is a bitch. Yes, that girl over there is a hoe. And that's what I'm going to call them. And yes, I'm going to call you the N-word. And I'm going to say it over and over and over again until you accept it as this just being normal vernacular. They started what we now call gangster rap. And from gangster rap, which started on the West Coast, because NWA was a West Coast group based in Compton, California. Then you got Dr. Dre. Then you got Snoop Dogg. From there, eventually you get someone like Tupac. And then the gangster rap thing migrated itself to the East Coast. And you got a lot of gangster rappers on the East Coast. And while a lot of rappers on the West Coast were more about, hey, this is what we're doing. Yes, we're doing drugs and we will shoot you, and just making it sound a certain way. There's a certain sound on the West Coast. What happened on the East Coast is a lot of rappers just started leaning really, really heavily into the thug persona. So a lot of thug rap was on the East Coast. Thug rap is basically people just telling you how tough they are, how much they will beat you up, how they will shoot you, how they will kill you. Yeah, maybe we're dealing with some drugs, but the most important thing we're going to do is beat you up and menace you and threaten you and control your neighborhood with violence. That's what East Coast rap, gangster rap, their version of gangster rap was that. And then, of course, on both sides, you had the rappers rapping about dealing as many drugs as possible. Let all of them tell it that they were all Pablo Escobar. This is where you get someone like a Jay-Z. All right, he came out rapping about things like that, how much drugs he sells. Then later on, in the current era, we were to fast forward 20 years, you got a lot of rappers now, instead of talking about selling drugs, now you got the rappers talking about consuming drugs. Now you got rappers rapping about how much drugs they actually do. And again, making it sound cool. We have ghettofied all of the music. This happened in our music, and music is not even the topic here today, but it connects. I need to tell you that part to help you understand what's happening in politics. Is this is slowly starting to happen in the political space with the black liberals, is that we are ghettofying even the people who are supposed to be the most upstanding citizens, representing us and explaining to us what's happening out here in our streets. Because again, somebody has decided this is what the average black person will relate to. So this is the message that we have to give it to. This is the message we have to give to them, and we have to package it in this way because otherwise we're not going to get people to listen to us. And what happened back then was the gangster rappers, when they were asked, because those of you who are old enough to remember, in the late 80s, early 90s, these rappers would sometimes be held to task. They'd be brought on TV shows and asked, why do you say these things in your songs? Why do you rap like that? Why do you mention these lyrics? Why do you refer to people in this way? Is this really helping kids? Kids are listening to what you're saying. Why are you doing this? And there used to be people in our communities, the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons. Interestingly enough, they would do marches in the communities. They would go to record stores, buy the albums of the rappers who had these explicit lyrics, and they would make a show out of throwing the CDs on the ground and stomping them out and breaking the CDs to show the community that they did not condone this type of music. Look at what Al Sharpton's doing these days. That's why this guy is one of the many fucking race hustler sellouts that we know, because he just goes wherever the money is telling him to go. That's a different conversation again for a different day. But Al Sharpton is a good person to mention as a black liberal, by the way, since we are on the subject. So what's happened in politics is the same thing. This is the reason why from John Kerry in 2004 to Barack Obama to Hillary Clinton to Joe Biden to Kamala Harris, every Democratic candidate we've seen in this century has all pushed some rapper or athlete, often black, rapper or athlete, to come campaign and stump for them during their campaign, because this is ostensibly designed to reach the ear of the average black person. They're not doing it hoping that this person works. They're doing it by doing research. These people, the Democratic Party has a lot of money. They can do a lot of research. They ask themselves, okay, if we want Kamala Harris to get as many votes as possible, who are the best people that we can pay to get them to come speak on Kamala's behalf to get black people to vote for us? So this is how you end up with Cardi B interviewing Joe Biden when he's running for president in 2020. Of all the black people in the black community, Cardi B is not even fully black. I believe she's half Puerto Rican and half black, allegedly. How the fuck did we end up with Cardi B interviewing Joe Biden for president? How does that happen? How do we get Kamala Harris, get someone like Megan Thee Stallion, a rapper, female rapper? She's one of the female rappers on a famous song called WAP, which stands for Wet Ass Pussy. Yes, the song is literally called Wet Ass Pussy, and I believe her collaborator on that song was Cardi B, if I'm remembering correctly. All right, these are the people that went and stumped for Kamala Harris during her campaign. She had a rapper named Quavo from a group called Migos in Atlanta. He came and spoke for Kamala during her campaign. One of Quavo's group members, the Migos is 3 people. One of Quavo's group members got murdered, I believe, at a bowling alley over a dispute that was happening inside the bowling alley when he and his group members were all there. And guess who shot him? It was a black guy. And this is the guy And these guys rap about this stuff. And then his guy gets murdered based on the kind of stuff that they rap about. He's one of the guys that Kamala Harris calls to come and represent me. Then she went and got Beyonce to come speak for her in Texas, which I don't know why, because she didn't win Texas. She had no chance of winning Texas. But this is what the black liberals have done. This is what we got to do. We got to bring these ghetto people up here to come and speak for us, to get the average black person to come vote for us. And no, there's a lot of black people they could come get to come speak for them. Why didn't they pick a scholar? Why didn't they pick some doctor or some scientist or some cardiologist? Well, the reason is because those people aren't popular in the community. So this is a chicken and egg problem. So what they've done, you're seeing this in politics a lot more, is ghettofying things. Right now, these days, you saw politicians like, I believe it was Mr. Bowman. He was up in New York. He got voted out, but just trying to put himself out there in this ghettofied way. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You're supposed to be of the, the professional class here of black people. What are you doing putting yourself out there like that? These days, you have a politician like Mrs. Crockett from Texas, who is putting on this cosplay of being ghetto when I don't believe she is actually ghetto, nor do I believe she's from the ghetto, let alone even from the hood. But she's putting on this cosplay because it works to get a whole bunch of attention from a certain class of black people. And it's a big class. I understand why she's doing what she's doing. I don't agree with what she's doing, but I understand why she's doing it. And what happens is you see politicians doing this because black people will relate to it. And they bring some, as I said, gangster rapper or other person who makes their living and made themselves famous by promoting degenerate stereotypes, degenerate ideas and lifestyles. And that person is a supporter who is encouraging citizens to go and vote for such and such candidate or donate to this candidate. You've seen this, again, as I already explained. Every Democratic candidate you've seen in the last 25 years, they all did it. Cardi B talking to Joe Biden when he was hiding in the basement in the summer of 2020. That was a slap in the face to black Americans who take things seriously, that they got Cardi B as all the people they could get to interview Joe Biden and ask him some real questions. That's who they got, Cardi B. A bunch of black liberals, here's the reality, a bunch of black liberals were happy that Cardi B got chosen. They were happy because they considered that some form of progress. So look at this, rappers getting recognized. Are you joking? No, I'm not joking. That's what people wanted. And the data showed them, again, Democratic National Convention, these people are not stupid. They looked at the data and said, the best way to get people to listen to what Joe Biden has to say is have him sit down with this chick, the wet ass pussy chick, her. They are simply responding to what black folks are telling them. All right, so I'm not even that mad at the Democratic Party for doing this. That's why this episode is not about them. It's about the black liberal, because we're the ones who told them this is what we want. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is the misdirection of the black liberal. If you are white and you're listening to this so far, and you're wondering, why would black people fall for this, being that it's so obvious? You're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, there's no way my community or my group or whatever group you consider yourself part of, no way we would go for any of this nonsense. Why are black people falling for this? Are they just not smart? What is it? What's the reason? Can Dre answer the question? I can answer the question. This is a good question. Answer is, many black people have bought into the idea, and this goes back to the late 80s and the early 90s when the ghettofying of music took over. And music is very influential on a culture. It's more influential than anything a politician says is the music. That we came to be taught that being quote unquote authentically black meant that you had to be from the hood, or you had to be ghetto, or you had to behave as if you don't have proper home training or you don't know how to conduct yourself professionally and respectfully around other people. That is what we have come to associate with when we say authentic blackness. That's what we mean. You got to be from the hood, or you got to be from the ghetto, and or you have to know how to conduct yourself as if you're from the hood or ghetto, even if you ain't. And that's what it is. That's what authentic blackness looks like now. This is why you see black people who may be from the hood or from the ghetto, but they do things to get out of the hood or out of the ghetto, and they get into a place where they don't have to conduct themselves that way anymore because they're around people who don't even respond to that type of energy. But at some point, every once in a while, they have to do or say something that shows everyone that, hey, even though I'm here and this place is not the hood or the ghetto, let me remind you that I do have the potential to be hood or ghetto every now and then. And let me be clear, speaking for myself, I'm from the hood. I'm not in the hood anymore, but I'm from the hood. And every now and then, in certain circumstances, I may need to reach to that energy if necessary. If necessary, I will reach that energy. I have access to it. At the same time, however, I'm not trying to put on a show for any of you who's listening to this, whether you are from the hood or not. I'm not trying to put on a show to you that I'm from the hood. I can tell you that I am, but I don't need to act like I am. I mean, you see the way that I dress myself. Do you not? You listen to the way that I speak. Do you not? Now, you see what I do for a living. Do you not? So I don't need to put on a show of I'm hood or I'm from the hood or I'm ghetto or any of that bullshit, because if that's what I wanted to do, I would have just stayed in the hood. Most of the people who are in the hood are trying to get out of it, but then the people who get out of it and they quote unquote make it, the first thing they got to do is make sure they let everybody in the hood know, hey, I'm still hood. Let me just show you some ghetto-ness, just so you don't think that I forgot about y'all. Jasmine Crockett, Kamala Harris. We wash our greens in the bathtub. Really, Kamala? That's the best thing you can come up with? Hillary Clinton. I keep hot sauce in my bag. Really, Hillary? You're as white as a picket fence. We don't believe you. That's why she didn't win. Kamala Harris. Is Kamala Harris even black? We don't know. Is Kamala Harris' dad even Jamaican? We don't know. Candace Owens did a deep dive on her. Y'all can go look into that on your own time. But this is what we've done. Authentic blackness means you got to somehow be ghetto, somehow be hood. All right, my son is not from the hood. He's not from the ghetto. He will never be from the hood or the ghetto because he may go there, but he will never be raised in the hood or the ghetto. He's going to be raised in very nice places. Now, when he gets older, he may have some, I want to make sure that he doesn't, but he could run into some identity issues because he's of mixed race, number one. My wife is European. And also because he's not from the hood or the ghetto, but he has 50% of his genetics are black. His dad from the hood, he ain't. How is he going to deal with it when he runs into and comes across, which he inevitably will, some black people who are from the hood and are from the ghetto, and they consider themselves more black than he is, first of all, by their genetics, and second, because where they come from versus where he comes from. How's he going to handle that? Well, my job is to prepare him for that. Because he is going to run into it because these people ain't going away. These people who think authentic blackness means you got to be ghetto or from the hood or you got to act like it. And that is not what makes you black, just to be clear. There are a lot of people who believe that, but that's not what makes you black. And see, I can say that because, and what's interesting is the fact that I can say it and hold people accountable and call them out on their bullshit only because I'm from the ghetto. Not the ghetto, excuse me, I'm from the hood. I'm not from the ghetto, I'm from the hood. The hood and the ghetto there's two different levels. The ghetto is a lower level than the hood. I can hold people accountable to that because, first of all, I come from that environment, so I can speak their language. Secondly, I quote unquote made it out of there. Third, as I just told you a minute ago, I can still access that energy. And they need to know that I have the ability to access that energy if they're even going to respect and listen to me. The people who think authentic blackness means being from the hood. Do you understand? You need someone who has actually been there and has that energy and access to that energy to get through to those people. Somebody who grew up in the suburbs and was always in the suburbs, they can't go talk to Michelle Obama. Can't go talk to somebody like these people who I'm describing, even though Michelle Obama is technically from quote unquote the hood. According to the stories that I heard about Michelle Obama, she was so proper and spoke so properly that she wasn't respected by the other kids in the hood because she sounded white because she was very proper. Michelle Obama is not, she is from the hood, but she is not hood. She doesn't have any hood in her. And there's a whole bunch of black people who are from the hood, but don't have any hood in them because they got up out of it quickly as possible. If they went back, nobody knows them. If I go back to where I'm from, people know me. I'm not saying that to impress you, but to impress upon you that, again, because of my access to the energy and the fact that people know me there because I was outside when I was there, I could reach some of these people. Not all of them, but they're going to listen to what I have to say. They may disagree, but they'll listen to what I have to say because I can speak their language and I can match their energy. The problem is those others who are either cosplaying, Kamala Harris, Jasmine Crockett, cosplaying, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, cosplaying, those folks, all they had to do is give you some lip service to it, even though you know that these people are not from there. Barack Obama was raised in Hawaii by his white grandmother. What the hell does he have? What connection does he have to the hood? The answer is he has no fucking connection to the hood. But if he can cosplay it a little bit and he can get LeBron James and Jay-Z to stump for him, then that's good enough. This is the problem. This is the problem that I have. This right here that I'm saying. So this authenticness, which is not actually authentic at all, this is why when black people make it to high status, they often have to do things to show you that they're still authentic or from the hood in some way, just to make sure that they are quote unquote keeping it real. This is what they got to do. See, someone who actually keeps it real all the time, like myself, I don't have to do anything to show you that I can keep it real. Again, I just told you, I'm from that environment and I have access to that energy. And I don't have to put on a show to show you to have access to the energy because it kind of is just naturally part of my presentation. This is part of my natural energy. And again, it's not I'm some thug or gangster. I'm not that. Never was. My issue with all of this is that many of these folks are not from the hood, couldn't find the hood with Google Maps, and no one from the hood ever even knew them or knows them. Whatever hood they claim they're from, let's bring them to that hood and see who knows them. Answer is nobody. Nobody knows them. What's even crazier is how white people who have no affiliation with the hood, but once you want to connect with a black liberal voter, you will pretend that you have some connection to the hood just so you can quote unquote relate to these people. Hillary Clinton, I'm looking at you. The biggest issue is the fact that many black people, the issue is not that the white politician tries this. The biggest issue is that they have reason to believe that it will work. That's the problem. The problem is not that they tried it. The problem is they have a reason to believe doing that is going to get them more connected to the black voter. And you know what? They're right. That's the problem. The Breakfast Club, allowing Joe Biden to come on that show and say, if you got to make a decision between me and Donald Trump, you ain't black. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are equally white. And he said that, and Charlemagne, this guy named Charlemagne, he calls himself Charlemagne the God. He's the host of the show called The Breakfast Club, very popular in the black community. When Joe Biden made that statement, Charlemagne was interviewing him. Charlemagne did not push back on him at all. He didn't say anything. He just sat there and let him say it. And this is a guy who's supposed to be a representative of the black community on one of the biggest shows in black culture, which is called The Breakfast Club. I listened to some of their interviews, not all of them. The show is not very informative. It's much more on the entertainment side. But Charlemagne presents himself as some sort of intellectual. And he sat there and let that white man say that right to his face. Why? And now Charlemagne, after Kamala Harris's loss in 2024, Charlemagne has continued to claim that he's a quote unquote independent. Now, a lot of black liberals have all of a sudden become independent after Donald Trump won in 2024. Interestingly enough. But again, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, all of a sudden, they're all independent. Had Kamala won, would they still be independent? No, I don't think so. The biggest issue with all of this is that black people accept this. I'm not mad at the white people who are doing it. I'm not mad at the black people who ain't from the hood who are cosplaying. I'm mad at the people who accept it when they do it. Because if everybody was calling them out the way I'm calling them out, they wouldn't do this bullshit because it'd be clear that it wouldn't work. They're doing it because it works. See, it's not the people doing the cosplay that's the problem. It's the acceptance of the cosplay that's the problem. Many of them listening to this, some of you who are listening to me right now, you'll say I'm the problem. You just disagree with the fact that I'm calling this bullshit out. That is a problem. The problem is that people have come to believe that proving yourself to be authentically black means being ghetto from the hood, talking in slang, otherwise behaving in some non-professional way. That is the way that you prove that you're black. Even funnier is that there are some black people listening to this who have very logical, at least to them, explanations for why this is completely acceptable. Well, this is Ebonics and this is our slang and this came from Africa. Like, miss me with all that bullshit. Okay, I'm from the same neighborhood you're from, went to the same public schools that you went to, graduated, went to college, got a degree, wrote a bunch of books, started business, played basketball professionally, still go to the gym every day, still work out every day. Whatever energy you can access, I can access. And that's all bullshit. Now, see, what people can do, and this is why I mentioned my son. My son grows up, people will, if he was to talk the way that I'm talking, people could try to discredit him because of where he's from, because of his genetic makeup. They can discredit him for those things. But see, you can't do that with me. That's the reason I can say that. That's the reason I can say the things that I'm saying. I'm from the same place you're from, got two black parents, came from the hood, played sports for a living, or what you going to say to me? How are you going to discredit me? You can't. And I can, word for word, go with whoever. And this is the reason why I have to call this out. This is the reason why this is my responsibility. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is the misdirection of the black liberal. Number 3, the black community, as I already explained to you partially, we used to have a serious problem with this, and we would hold these people accountable. These people who, in the black community, we refer to these people internally. Internally, I want to make sure I'm being very clear on that. Internally, we refer to these people as N-words when we're talking amongst each other. All right, those are not black folks. Those are N-words. And these N-words are getting in the way of our community. I talked about this in episode number 2255, why I don't do N-word business. I did a whole episode on it. Chris Rock has a famous skit from one of his comedy shows about 30 years ago talking about this very thing. You can look it up on YouTube. Look up Chris Rock, black people. Just type in Chris Rock, black people, and you'll find the skit. And watch that skit. It's actually very funny because it's based in truth. And sometimes when I point that skit out, some black people say, well, you shouldn't point that out because it normalizes the way he's talking about. He's kind of basically reverse racism against black people and white people are laughing at it and that's not okay. Fuck that. It's 100% accurate. That's why it's funny. And everybody knows it's accurate. Every black person laughed their asses off when that skit came out because we all knew it was 100% true. This is in like 1996. Now, 2025, all of a sudden, it's taboo to talk about it. It's still very true now. It's even more true now than it was before. Black people always had affinity for other black people, but we did have a problem with the Negroes in our neighborhood who were doing things that brought the community down. These are the mofos who are standing on the corner, the people who are littering trash on the ground, the people who are pissing on the sidewalk, the people who are dealing drugs, the people who are out in the street all times of night, the people who are talking as if they don't have any home training, behaving as if they don't have home training, being disrespectful to their neighbors, and would get aggressive with you if you dared call them out on their nonsense. These are the kind of people we used to hold accountable and say, get your bum ass out of this community because you're bringing the community down. We used to have strong men in our community who did not tolerate these fools. It used to be this way. And slowly but surely, we started more and more tolerating the idiots in our communities. In other communities, they don't tolerate idiots. You can't be an idiot in the Asian community and stay around the Asian community. They'll kick you out. Other Asians will kick you out. You can't be an idiot in a Jewish community and stay in the Jewish community. The other Jewish people will kick you out of the community even though you're Jewish. They'll kick you out. There are white communities out there. All right, you're acting like you don't have any sense. Your fellow white people will kick you out of the community. In the black community, when we have idiots, we tolerate them. And the black liberal, reason I'm bringing up the black liberal, the politicians look at this and they say, oh, they tolerate these folks. So when George Floyd, a drug addict and a person who's been in and out of the system, he ends up dead at the knee of a police officer, or at least it appears he ends up dead at the knee of a police officer at the time. Let's go make this as big a story as possible because this is the kind of guy the black community celebrates and protects. So they're going to go crazy over this one. And guess what? What happened? Now, all you know who George Floyd is, right? I don't have to explain to you the story. That's why. It's because of this right here. We tolerate this. George Floyd, when he was alive, most of you, black people who are listening to this right now, will not take a minute of time to talk to a George Floyd if he tried to stop you on the corner. I say, motherfucker, get the fuck away from me. Don't you see I'm with my child? Don't approach me. That's what I would say to him. That's what I would say to George Floyd. You see I'm with my kid? Don't fucking approach me. That's what I would say to him. The way he looked on video, on that body cam footage, don't approach me when I'm with my kid. Don't talk to me. No, I want to talk to you. No, I ain't got $1 for you. Get the fuck out my face. That's what I would say to him. And most of you, if you didn't say that, you might be thinking it. But all of a sudden he dies and now we got to take a day off from work. Really? And again, the politicians noticed this and they said, oh, they celebrate guys like that? Okay. Okay, no problem. Let's just find a few more. Okay. We used to call these people out. We used to kick them out. We used to excommunicate them, and we would not allow them to bring down the value of the neighborhood. We would tell them shape up or ship out. The problem is we changed things to where now we're going backwards. Now these people are more and more culturally and commercially accepted. So now it's commercially accepted to be a drug dealer and or a drug addict and or a thug and or to be violent. All these things are accepted now. This is very problematic. And the reason why someone like myself needs to call this out is because, as I already explained a moment ago, y'all remember the movie Training Day with Denzel Washington? Did you see that movie? In that movie, Denzel Washington is playing this. He's basically a dirty cop. He's a detective, dirty cop, or he's a narc. He's a narcotics cop. And he has this white kid, this fresh-faced white kid who is basically shadowing him for a day. And he's just learning how to be a narcotic police officer. And very early in the shadow day, the white kid realizes that Denzel is kind of a dirty cop. He doesn't follow the rules and he's doing things he ain't supposed to be doing. And when the white cop starts to realize it, Denzel realizes that the kid is realizing it. And he says to the kid, listen, I'm in the street trying to catch wolves. He doesn't say this in so many words, but he said, I'm trying to catch the wolves in the streets. These drug dealers, these guys are wolves. And it takes a wolf to catch a wolf. That's what he said. He said, if you want to protect the sheep, you got to catch all the wolves. And the sheep are the everyday citizens who are following the rules. So to protect the sheep, you got to catch the wolves. And to catch a wolf, you got to be a wolf. And that's why I'm saying what I'm saying here today. Because it takes a wolf to catch a wolf. You can't send sheep to catch wolves. The wolves won't even listen to the sheep. They'll eat the sheep. In other words, you can't not be from the hood and call people out who are from the hood because they're not gonna listen to you. People who don't know how to behave who are from the hood won't listen to someone who's not from the hood because the first thing they're gonna see is like, oh, you ain't even from here. Why are you even speaking? They won't respect you. Again, I'm from a place where I'm qualified to call people on their bullshit. That's the reason why I'm able to do it. And as it becomes more and more respected, this nonsense, and even more popular, it's harder and harder to call people out on the nonsense because it's becoming more normalized. And there are more and more people, as it becomes more accepted, there are more people who try to shout you down and make you look like the bad person for trying to hold people accountable for their nonsense. So these degenerates are making our community look bad. And when I say community, I'm not talking about like the cluster of houses in which you live. When I say community, I'm talking about black people in general. Because there's a black person out there saying some nonsense and walking around with their pants hanging off their asses, and you're black. And that person who's not black, some white person sees you, now have a lot of experience with black people. Next person who comes around the corner, who might be me, now the black person they saw, they're like, what the hell is that? They see me coming around the corner. They may think that I have some type of connection to this person just because I look the same. So you are making me look bad. That's why I got a problem with it. That's why I got a problem with it, because your presentation to the world is tainting the vision that other people have of anyone who looks like you, and I happen to look like you. So you need to get your shit together because you're making it harder for me. The same way that my representation to the world is making some of you white folks who are looking at or listening to this and you don't have a lot of engagement with black people, whatever you see in me, you may start to think that other black people are like that. That means I have a responsibility in the way that I show up. So that's why I have an issue with this. That's why I'm bringing it up. And again, this is making our community look bad. And most black people, there's a lot of black people who agree with everything that I'm saying here, but they won't say it all out. That's the problem. But I'm solving the problem by saying it out loud. I'm not saying everybody else needs to do what I do. Most people can't do what I do, and they wouldn't even if they could. I'll do it. And it appears that this is why, again, we've accepted this as a people. We have not accepted it. I'm making this episode to make sure everyone understands we have not accepted this. It seems like it's been accepted because nobody's saying shit. Is not accepted. Just to be clear, just so nobody thinks that this is just become our normal status quo. No, it is not. Just for the record. Let's recap today's class, which is the misdirection of the black liberal. And again, tomorrow I'm going to talk about my general disagreement with the liberal view in the United States of America. But today I'm going to talk about my disagreement with the black liberal, period, whether that be a politician, a voter, or whoever. Number one, what's happening in politics, the same thing they did to music. They took something that was generally respectful and professional and they ghettofied it. And now people think being from the ghetto or being unprofessional somehow makes you more black. Number two, if you are white, you're listening to this and wondering why do black people fall for this, is because many black people believe being authentically black means being ghetto from the hood, talking as if you don't have any sense and conducting yourself as if you have no home training, as if you don't have a mother and father at home. Number three, the black community used to have a serious problem with these people who we call N-words and we hold them accountable. Now we've come to celebrate not only N-words, the people, but also the N-word itself. I mean, think about it. We made the N-word into this term that is just generally, we sold it. We packaged it up and we sold it to the rest of the world. Then people want to act offended when somebody else uses the N-word. I would not suggest that any of you who's not black throw the N-word around recklessly. Don't throw it around at all, as a matter of fact. However, when I see other black people getting mad saying, how is this other person saying N-word? I'm like, mofo, your favorite rapper said it 367 times on their last album. How you mad? Who they sold the album to? They sold the album to white people. That's how they made so much money. All right, they can't make that much money by just selling to black people. You said the N-word 300 times on your album, then you sold the album to as many people as possible so you can make money. That rapper got rich. You look up to that rapper because he's rich. How did he get rich? By selling his N-word to the white people. And now you mad that white people are saying the N-word. How? How you mad? You celebrate the rapper. You got to celebrate how he became who he became. Which way do you want it? Pick a struggle here. Remember, folks, third law of economics, no such thing as a free lunch. All this said, tomorrow, we're going to trash the black liberals in general. And yeah, I'll tell you my angle on that tomorrow when the time comes. But between now and then, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to have some real game for your real life so you can help real people solve real problems. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all